Hi, Carol again. We're getting to the end of looking at verbs, but we're still not there yet. Okay, so today we're going to look at verb moods, the mood of the verb. I'm still not at the tense form. Tense en español, tense es tiempo, el tiempo. Todavía no he hablado de los tiempos del verbo, right? Estoy hablando de los modos del verbo, the mood of the verb. And mood means when you are saying what you're saying, what are you saying? Does that make any sense? I don't think so, right? What are you saying? Are you indicating something? Are you giving information? Or are you commanding me to do something? That's another mood, when you command someone to do something. Or are you talking about a desire, a wish, not of what you do, but of what you want someone else to do? Now, in English, the third point that I just made, when you're talking about a desire, that really doesn't apply. I mean, sometimes you see it, especially in older English, you'll read it. But I think because we don't talk about it, people don't even recognize it. But let me tell you something. If you don't know this third point, and it's called the third mood, and it's called the subjunctive. If you don't know the subjunctive in Spanish, or in French, or in Italian, or in Portuguese, you don't speak the language. It's not something that you can jump over and ignore. Not only is it important that you say it, and it is important that you say it, it's also pivotal, it's also immensely important, what other word can I use, that you understand it, because it changes the meaning of a sentence. It changes the meaning of what the person is saying. Sometimes the change can be almost, in English, you can't translate it. But in Spanish, in your mind, you know it's something different. So let me just give you an example of what I'm talking about. Not the subjunctive yet, I'm just talking about mood. Most times, I'm going to say in English, I'm not going to say in Spanish. Most times in English, the majority of the sentences that we say are indicative. So you have the present indicative. You don't call it the past indicative, but basically it's a past indicative, in which you're giving information. So, I speak Spanish. I spoke Spanish. I was speaking Spanish. I had spoken Spanish. I would have spoken Spanish by the time I graduate from high school. Okay, whatever. You can see I graduated many years ago, right? All right. So you are giving information. You are indicating. Now, we call the present tense the present indicative, but a lot of tenses are like that, in which you're just giving information. The imperative, right, sometimes called the command form tense, in which you are telling somebody what to do. Sit down, stand up, open the door, close the door. You are commanding. We also use in English the imperative when we are telling someone how to do something. Like if you look at recipes, it's an imperative. Look at instructions, it's an imperative. In Spanish, no. In Spanish, it's in the subjunctive. It's in the subjunctive, right? A tense that, for English speakers, is not the easiest tense in the world to get. Okay. So basically in English, we speak in the in the indicative, where we're giving information or we're commanding. We also speak in the subjunctive. But unlike in Spanish and French and Italian and Portuguese, it's not its own, it doesn't have its own form of the verb. So a lot of times people don't even recognize it. Let me give you an example of the subjunctive in English. I have a couple of sentences up here, but I can also give you more. One sentence is, if I were you. Now that were is a subjunctive, Because normally you is you was, not you were. Right? But I'm talking about something that didn't happen. No, that's not, no, that would be if I had been you. No, I'm talking about something that isn't. I'm imagining a present that isn't. So if I were you, but you're not me, and you'll never be me, and I'll never be you. Okay. For the English speaker, this is not the easiest, right? Because we say these things, but we don't recognize them. Long live the king, right? Long live the king. But if it were just the indicative, it would be long lives the king. But nobody says long lives the king, because that long live is the subjunctive. We say it, but we don't recognize it. Someone, if they were to translate into Spanish, they would translate this into the subjunctive. Another one, I desire that he be president of the United States. Or I want that he be present at my party. That he be, that be is the subjunctive. But once again, we don't use the subjunctive, we don't recognize it. But a Spanish speaker would know exactly that was a subjunctive. They might not know the word, but they would translate it not in the present indicative, they would translate it in the subjunctive. Now, in Spanish, you have el presente indicativo. It's the same thing, right? Right? Es el tiempo que da información. Right? Indicar, indicates. Right? Then you have the imperative, right? Imperativo, habla. Now, the imperativo en español, tres formas. No, yeah, tres formas. En inglés, uno, right? So in English, it's talk. And obviously, the subject of the sentence is you, because I want you to talk, so talk. In Spanish, is habla, if it's tú, if the you is tú. Hable, if the you is usted. Y when we say let's talk, it will be hablemos if the subject is nosotros. So let's talk, hablemos. You, usted, talk, hable. You, to talk, habla. In English, you don't have to worry about any of that. It's just talk, right? Talk, right? The subjunctive in Spanish is very important. It's extremely important. Let me give you an example of the subjunctive in Spanish. Okay. Quiero que hable. No, quiero que hables. That's two, I want two. So, quiero que hables. Querría que hablaras. Ojalá que hubieras hablado. All of that, hable, hablara, hubieras hablado, those are all subjunctive. I could not even begin to give that here in the video. Those are things you really have to study. And the subjunctive you don't get right away. You shouldn't even try to get it right away. What you should do is try to understand what a Spanish speaker is understanding. Listen to music, because you use it a lot in music. You use it a lot in poetry. Frankly, you use it a lot in life. How many times, especially a mother to a child, is not giving the child information, but telling the child what she wants the child to do. Quiero que limpies. Quiero que comas. Quiero que, ojalá que puedas. It's used a lot. And it's one of the main reasons, besides feminine and masculine, of the nouns and of the adjectives, why people don't learn to speak Spanish or French or Italian or Portuguese well. So these are verb moods. The next video, tenses. And tenses in español quiere decir tiempos. So once again, Corrala Fickler McLean, iStudyGuides.com. Thank you.